This is not an anime. Most anime simplified are viewing experiences. There are tropes, genres like shonen and isekai. You sit down, you put on an episode, and you watch it. Some anime, however, you cannot just simply watch. Some shows derive so heavily from normal anime that they are no longer anime. This is not normal voice acting. This is not normal animation, and this place, it's not normal. All of these anime are weird, avant garde even, so experimental and unconventional that they break away from your typical anime narrative, challenging what it even means to be an anime. If climbing a wall of boobs is challenging, that is. Abstract storytelling reigns supreme within these shows, turning what would be a normal watch into something deeper, something surreal, something metaphorical, something profound, something that changes how you perceive your life. These are no longer anime. These are all experiences. Now, there are two types of this sort of weird, more avant-garde anime. The first being where you're able to grasp a fair bit of the actual story, like Evangelion. And then there's to live means to be in constant confusion. Some days we feel in control of all the things that surround our being. Other days we question what lies ahead. Yet, most of the time, we are truly at the mercy of the world around us, lost within the darkness of uncertainty, until eventually you re-roll the possibilities, as seen in Sonny Boy. Aimlessly existing within the darkness lies the school, suddenly being transported to another dimension, along with 36 students, some awakening to unexplainable supernatural abilities, and some not, including Nagara, Nozomi, Mizuho, and Asakaze. The only thing that they're sure of is that yet, in this darkness, one girl sees the light, and it's up to the rest of them whether they watch from afar or chase right after it. Sonny Boy, although not seen as avant-garde, is very much so in my opinion. The story pulls wool over these deep philosophical ideas, blanketed by a mysterious story structure and bright psychedelic visuals that have you questioning the message behind what's said, what's shown, what could be, and if it even means anything at all. I don't know if this means anything, nor this, or even this. Yet, that's the point. Some things just exist for no reason, yet it's up to you to determine their meaning. Through each world that is travelled through lies its own set of rules. In one, items traded with no price perish. In another, the excluded lie dormant in their own idealistic sanctuary, tucked away within an infinite casing of curtains. Yet despite their differences between worlds, one thing remains absolute. These rules exist. There's no special meaning for why, just like there's no reason why some students can quite literally bend space-time, whilst others can only produce a small, faint light on one finger. A dice is rolled, providing infinite possibilities, but no answer as to why. As is the game of life, nothing but chance and probabilities, all things you have zero control over, and all things that confuse us and send us into uncertainty. The story is often mysterious and messy because that's how life is. It is pointless to explain the unexplainable. The only thing we have control over is our own interpretation of life's cruel and unfair nature. I believe Sonny Boy is a story about how different people deal with the uncertainties of life. The students are even transported right before their middle school graduation, a time in which many feel the pressure of adulthood closing in. On the island, the dread of supposedly being stuck in a different dimension leads some to follow those who seem to have all the answers to their suffering in the name of God, as if it were a religion or, more accurately, a cult. Some want to be praised and feel special, some want control, and some have already given up.
まだ間に合う。
Even before going adrift, Nagara had been tired of his surroundings, feeling alone in his own home and feeling isolated at school, constantly looking for a way out of life's dilemmas, an escape from the world so strong. Yet, the truth is, you wanted to be a player. But you couldn't. But even still, you were drawn to the cruel fairness of and you became an umpire. You were watching over the game from there, this whole time. Nagara had become an umpire to his own life, just an observer opening a box of possibilities.
立つんだ。
These worlds exist because he is there, an escape that became the escapeless, held captive by a drift that was inevitable. But it's only when he takes a swing and decides to defy the fates that they cannot run from, does he finally take off in search of the light that brightens the darkness. And all it took was a nestling to be nurtured into a bird. Through Nozomi's determination to find the light and escape from their predicament was Nagara able to finally find a purpose to his life, to change how he perceives the world around him, even if that belief leads to nowhere, even if nothing changes. He'll get there on his own. Yet, unfortunately, not every reason for being actually serves a purpose. After waking up in an unfamiliar world, Nagara is immediately thrusted into the work of those around him. The simple task of carrying blocks brought from the top down to the very bottom. Nothing more and nothing less.
天国を目指してるんだ。天国？天
Yet, it's not for no reason. Thousands slave away, building up this labyrinth of a tower to escape, to arrive at heaven, to go back to their own world, all whilst hunting for promised riches, treasure assured by those with authority.
僕がそういう風に決めたから。
Yet, no one except Nagara questions anything. Why on earth would they carry blocks to the bottom if they're building up? When will the tower even be done?
わっちはここへ来て200年になるけど、そんなの知りたいと思ったことはない。え？
This world, in which people cling on to grand delusions, awfully resembles the real working world. In life, you have to work. Even if that work seems to serve no purpose, there's always the promise of riches and joy lying at the finish line. All the workers know is what they know. Carry the blocks down and repeat. It's objectiveless and aimless, yet accepted as the way things are. They're promised treasure, yet are fed what dogs can't stomach. They chase a false hope, being fully aware that the heaven they're guaranteed doesn't exist. After all, they're all just simple worker ants, at the mercy of the world, clinging on to nonsense, just to have something in a world with nothing. Yet, doing so leaves you vulnerable to the darkness. And the only way to break free is to turn the world upside down, where you'll finally make it to the top. Sonny Boy is not just a story about the uncertainties of life, but the perspectives we take as well. You cannot control the world around you, and you cannot change it either. It's all a game of chance. The only thing you can actually control is you. Because what guides the light will always be turning. Only things that can happen do happen. All you have to do is just re-roll the possibilities.
何の意味もないこの世界だけど、でも時折素敵なことが起きる。
Sonny Boy is one of the most intriguing anime I have ever watched, and instantly became a favorite of mine after finishing. Its psychedelic visuals, complex and unique narrative, beautiful soundtrack, and ambiguity make for such a fantastic watch that I highly recommend checking out yourself, and is definitely a show I'd like to dedicate a full video on in the future. Because here I've only been able to scratch the surface of what's explored within, and it's likely I'll never fully understand it, and that's because
この世界から発明家はいなくなった。
we all constantly worry about the future. We all constantly stress about the past. To foresee means to fret, and to remember means to regret. So, what if, within the speed of thought, you could start all over again? Has seen within the Tatami Galaxy. But unfortunately, for our main character, Watashi, it's not ever going to be as simple as that. After all, he hasn't been blessed with a situation where he can make the most of his talents. His first and worst contact with a man named Ozu, whose face seemed like a face of a yokai's, has plagued him and destroyed his first 2 years of his rose-colored campus life. Yes, truly, they are connected by the black thread of fate that leads him to such regretful lifestyles. It doesn't matter what path he takes, he'll just end up right back there again.
後期はいつでもあなたの目の前にぶら下がってございます。
The Tatami Galaxy is quite possibly the most surreal and artistic anime I've ever seen. To elaborate, this is one of the characters climbing a wall of booze. Yes. And this
今ここにいる君以外他の何者にもなれない自分を認めなくてはいけない
is a conversation regarding living a life full of regret. The story follows Watashi on a journey to find that rose-colored campus life he dreams of. Joining clubs, making friends, finding love, all things that he never finds. Yet, he very well could have. And so, he's sent back by the powers that be, where he starts over and over and over again with no memory. Yet he never finds that life he wishes upon. Behind the mind-bending and complex storytelling lies a simple message that is often overlooked within our own lives.
漫然とせず好機を思い切って捕まえてごらんなさいまし
Always thinking about the future and the past, instead of the present. Ah yes, university, the place where countless doors for the mystical treasure known as that rose-coloured campus life lay before Watashi. Yes, half swollen with glee, this was his chance to live a fulfilling university life. The club he chooses will surely lead to a rally of love with a raven-haired maiden. Except, this never happens. In each and every timeline, Watashi spends the first 2 years of his college bitterly searching for something that does not exist, leading him to be ostracized, his only friends seemingly set on making Watashi's life as miserable as possible, cursing those around him. They're the reason he's awful at making things. They're the reason he's terrible at cycling. They're the reason he's forced into a pyramid scheme. They're the reason his Johnny's been forced in such a miserable state. All while questioning, where is the one responsible? Yet the answer has been there all along. In each iteration, the club he joins is not based on a genuine interest, but a how. How will this get me that rose-coloured life? A how that soon turns into a what if. Every single time he's just left disappointed. What if he chose a different club? What if he stayed away from these people? Always left with regret, yet bitterly remaining hopeful for the life he desires. Yet the answer was there in plain sight. There is no perfect life. Watashi constantly searches for such a fictitious life and is then let down and regretful when he doesn't achieve that life. Where time then resets, where he makes the same mistakes over and over again. To think that every aspect of your life must be perfect is an ideal no one could ever actually grasp. Life is full of ups and downs, but when all you want are those ups, all you'll end up seeing are those downs. Just like Watashi, blaming every single external factor in his life instead of looking within and finding that the problem is him. Impatient and always thinking about what lies ahead, instead of the opportunities that dangle right in front of him. Eventually, Watashi joins a reading club and, through the hands of Ozu, ends up with a book with whom he ends up becoming pen pals with the original owner, Keiko. And thus, his 2 years of exchanging letters had begun. The only problem is there were just some slight embellishments, yet all necessary in order to appease the beautiful Keiko. Yes, she is truly Watashi's ideal woman.
よければ一度お目にかかれませんでしょうか
Except, He could not meet her. A man entirely made out of sin. The real Watashi in the letters had drifted far away from Watashi in real life. What he had written he thought he could have achieved by now. There was truly no time to leap the hurdles he had set himself. Yet, he must meet her. He must show her his true form. Except, all he finds at her apartment is Ozu. It had been him all along. A cruel conclusion, indeed. Except, it was Akashi as well. A girl Watashi knows all too well. Once a prank to Ozu, Akashi took over in order to not hurt Watashi, and even shows interest in him after the fact, despite his embellishments, where Watashi even finds an opportunity dangling right in front of his eyes. But, of course, it's not him she likes. He had been dancing in Ozu's hand, not Akashi's. Ozu deserves to die 1,000 times over. After all, it's Watashi's fate to be dragged forever with Ozu. Yes, he's truly not suited for love's victory podium.
わけがない。いかなる手を使っても表彰台に上りたい。
Even after all the blemishes in reality, after Akashi and him had a genuine connection and conversation, and after the opportunity for change suspends down in his very room, all he has are regrets. Regrets about the past that lead to nothing but more regrets about the past. After all, it was all Ozu's fault. He's the one who roped Watashi into this. Except, Ozu wasn't. Watashi had the perfect chance to find some part of that rose-colored life, yet still couldn't have been good enough. It needs to be perfect without any regrets or dissatisfaction. And so he blames everyone around him, rejecting the truths that lie dormant within his reality. This is what happens when you search for that perfect life. All you wind up looking at are the faults, the mistakes, the shame. But even if such a life is achieved, something will always be left missing. You'll always be searching for something more rose-colored, more sparkling. A life where not a single dark cloud reigns over the sky. Maybe the choices you made were wrong. Maybe there was another choice that could have led to another possibility. Yet this word, possibility, does not come without its limitations. Watashi could have made a great film. He could have dated multiple women. But since his gaze was focused on the unrealistic, he never did. Always relying on another possibility to grant his wish. The only possibility that is certain is that Watashi is I, you are you, and you cannot become anyone else other than you. Your life has not gone awry. Your life has simply not begun yet. Behind the surreal visuals, unique storytelling and complex narrative, the Tatami Galaxy tells the straightforward message that there is no such thing as a perfect life. You will always have regrets, and you will always make mistakes, no matter how many chances you get. Searching for complete satisfaction is no different to wandering aimlessly, always constantly worrying about both the past and future. As if you speak at 1,000 miles an hour. When in reality, the opportunity for change lies just beyond our rose-tinted glasses. As humans, we are always striving to progress as a society. Every year, new technology is invented. Larger and more intimidating structures are built, and every country wants to be at the top of the food chain. Yet what happens? When all this effort goes to waste. Girl's Last Tour answers this question, the biggest question of all. What does war and power lead to? The answer? Nothing. Amongst the desolate remains that our two main characters, the calm Chito and the clumsy Yuri, explore, lies a barren wasteland void of any life. The only thing remaining being the mistakes of humanity, leaving the two girls puzzled as to why this horrific outcome had ever come to be. Although Girls Last Tour isn't as abstract or even really avant-garde, at least compared to the other anime previously mentioned, it's still a unique experience you just can't find in other anime. And by experience, I mean you feel the same dread, yet tranquility as the two girls do. There are hardly any answers to our questions. What exactly caused this war? How did everyone get wiped out? And when did this all occur? And that's because we're put in the same position as Chito and Yuri. All they can do is guess, as we do the same. Throughout the story, they hypothesize about past societies through books, weapons of war, random items, just as we do the same about the ancient Egyptians or ancient Rome and so on. All we can really do is hypothesize, because we weren't alive during those times. And it's the same within Girls Last Tour, with Chito describing certain items as ancient, ranging from an old radio to giant statues of something that seems to have been worshipped, to even the expanse of the city, stretching across multiple floors. They can only guess as to what their purposes could have been. Yet, there is one thing they know of. War and its outcome. Although they haven't a clue as to the past, the overwhelming dread of the present is certainly set into stone, the expanse of the megacity looming over them as its emptiness soon follows after. What do you do when you're the last human alive? Well, you find what little hope there is, so that those dark days get a little brighter. When you're in a situation that is seemingly as hopeless as Chito and Yuri's, there really isn't much you can do but accept your predicament. You can't raise people from the dead or reverse past society's mistakes, but what you can do is find life within a dying world, that life being the joy you create yourself. It's not as if they're on an adventure to discover life, as it is more they're on an adventure to find life within themselves. That's why there isn't any actual existentialism as you might think within the show. They know how bleak the world around them is, and so they appreciate every last bit of excitement they're gifted. From enjoying a hot bath after months of no warm water, to gazing at the view of a starry night sky, Girls Last Tour really makes you appreciate the little things in life. Because life is full of suffering, but it's finding meaning in said suffering that keeps us sane, and that's especially the case for Chito and Yuri. You must indulge in the positives to keep the negatives at bay, as do the girls do here, so that the nightmare of a dead world has no choice but to turn into a dream. Yet, at the same time, sometimes the loneliness of an empty world is just too much to ignore. As the girls traverse through a labyrinth of structures, they begin to guess as to what they even are. They couldn't be houses, nor a giant factory. Yet, black slabs with labeled drawers printed onto them, most sealed off, inaccessible, never to be opened again. But occasionally, they come across an open drawer, sometimes empty, and sometimes an item laid untouched within. Items that, although foreign to the girls, are all too familiar to the viewer. Yet as they recall a past companion and the camera he left them, they're thankful to have something to remember him by. Contrast to a memory in which that fleeting moment can be lost within an instant. This is when Chito realizes why all these drawers are labeled and why they even exist in the first place. Their names. Names of people from the far, far past. These are graves, not for their bodies, but for their memories. These drawers exist to cement their names, items, and the memories attached to them so that people would see them and remember them. Yet, no one passes through here anymore. The whole world has simply vanished, so who else is there to recall them? The girls then put the items back, now realizing the value placed onto them by those who held them close to heart. I loved this entire sequence, showing the meaning placed onto items that hold precious memories, and how many people are willing to seal them away so that they're never forgotten. Girls Last Tour isn't about the war that led to such devastation, as it is an experience about how someone would find peace in such a hostile environment, teaching the hope that can be sought out even in the most hopeless of situations, as it also shows us the bleakness of what humanity's greatest mistakes could possibly lead to. An adventure, one that educates us about the little things in life we should appreciate, whilst also warning us of a future in which no life exists within it. Despite being vastly different from one another, all these four anime have something in common. They're all experiences. You can't just sit down and watch these shows, as you'll be sucked into these immersive worlds, as if you yourself are the main character, with their narrative straying far away from the conventional means of most anime. Metaphors, symbolism, and surrealism dominate these shows, creating meanings and lessons that oftentimes directly confront the viewer. Although some less complex than others, each anime creates a unique atmosphere that puts you directly in the character's shoes, turning what would be a normal viewing experience into something otherworldly, as if reality had crumbled around you, or deteriorated into a barren wasteland. Every anime mentioned here is truly experimental in their storytelling methods, some being more avant-garde than others, but all of them constructing adventures that truly bring out the complexities of our imaginations. As if you weren't the viewer, but the one a part of the adventure. Thanks for watching the video, I really do appreciate it. I'm a big fan of anything experimental and avant-garde, so if you want to see me discuss more abstract anything, let me know. I'm more than willing to make dedicated videos to any anime discussed here also, where I can go into more length about every other theme or whatever I hadn't discussed, so let me know about that as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.